Welcome to Spill the Booch. This is the show where we read wild and hilarious and oh so relatable stories straight from Reddit from the yoga and wellness world. Because let's be real, it's never as zen as it seems. I'm Mara and I'm here with my lovely group of yoga business superstars and coaches, Bridget, Carol, Terri. Welcome. Thank you for coming on today. Together, we're diving into stories that make you laugh, cringe, and say, yep, that's so studio life. So grab your coffee, kombucha, your favorite drink, and let's jump in. Today's story is from the Am I Overreacting thread. And the title is Am I Overreacting? My girlfriend lied, in quotes, about ex-boyfriend. Now, I'm going to try something a little different today. Let's start off making wagers on what you think this story is going to be about just based on the title. And remember, it's relevant to the yoga world. So keep that in mind with your guesses. Terri, what do you think?
Well, can you say it again? Can you
Am
say
I overreacting? My girlfriend lied about ex-boyfriend.
I thought you said lies, as in
Lies about all her
like
ex.
no, lies down with ex.
Oh,
I was like, what? So
she
she
lies down with all her
okay,
boyfriends. Well, that is accurate.
lies about ex-boyfriend and how that he's no longer going to yoga class. He's no longer attending yoga, the same yoga studio.
Her ex-boyfriend is a student at the yoga studio.
Yeah, she lied that he's not attending and that when he
Okay.
actually is. I don't know.
Okay.
That's my thought.
Carol, what do you think?
My first thought was maybe she was dating a yoga teacher and then was boyfriend like, oh, I don't go to his class anymore, but she really does, or something like
Okay.
that. I
That's a
don't know.
good one. Bridget, what do you think?
That was my thought too. Maybe he's a big, hunky, sexy yoga teacher. And she was like, oh no, he's just like I'm not gonna offend anyone by picking a dorky, not hot career, but maybe she said, oh God, yeah. So maybe, and then maybe she said maybe she said he wasn't a big, hot, hunky male and yoga teacher.
And then he went to yoga with her and saw him and was like,
And she was like, oh, this is
oh my gosh. Well, I've read it, so I can't really make a guess. So let's dive in. Let's find out what actually happened. All right, so again, the title, Am I Overreacting? My girlfriend lied about ex-boyfriend. Putting lied in quotations because we disagree on whether or not this is an issue or actually a lie or not. I, 35 male with girlfriend, 29 female for 9 months. It's been pretty rocky for the last 4. She's a yoga teacher, which is where we met. I have asked multiple times in the past if she's ever dated a guy from yoga previously. She adamantly insisted that she never had. I only asked multiple times because I thought it was kind of odd that she never had over such a long career. We had spoken about past relationships and exes at length on a number of occasions. Nice talks, reflective, and interesting to get to know each other better. The other night, after 1.5 bottles of wine, she sort of slipped and mentioned that she dated a guy from the yoga studio that we met at for 4 months directly before her and I started dating. It upset me a lot because it felt like she lied about never dating out of yoga and never mentioned this person in any of our discussions who she happened to meet at the same place we did. Feels shifty, like hiding it on purpose or something. She maintains that she still doesn't consider it dating from yoga because that guy only went to a few classes and didn't become an active or long-term member. That seems ridiculous to me, and it's all confusing and upsetting. Worth mentioning. There's been a few previous instances of what I felt like was dishonesty. Example, she's always insisted that since we started dating, she had never used any dating apps in the past. And similarly, after a glass of wine, slipped up and ended telling me that she used Tinder and had been on multiple dates off of it. For context, I don't really care either way if she's dated out of yoga or used dating apps. They're just questions I've asked to learn more about her. I care about the dishonesty. Am I overreacting? Well, my initial reaction is, it's trust. It's the dishonesty that's not cool, and it sounds like wine is not her friend.
Stop drinking wine, that's for sure.
Yeah, stop drinking wine because it all comes pouring out. What are y'all's initial reactions to that? What do you think? Nobody was right. Nobody guessed it.
Close. It was
Yeah,
close.
did Terry kind of say?
Well, and you guys with the instructor, you were close there. Carol, what do you think?
I I I don't think he's overreacting in the context of the entire picture, right? That she's these little white lies about not using dating apps or, like, I mean, why wouldn't you just say, I did date a guy, but he wasn't a member and he only came a couple times? Like, just saying no outright. I don't know. It's just that whole thing does sort of add up to questionable behavior. Because if you
Yeah.
want to have an open, honest relationship, yeah, oh, Terry's big X. No, no. So I don't think the poster is overreacting. If it was just that one thing, maybe it would be like, not a big deal. But in the big picture, it's questionable for sure.
Yeah.
100% questionable. To me, that's a huge red flag. That it has no bearing that he only came a couple of times. She dated someone that went to the studio. And the fact that she's taking pains to say it wasn't, the more that thou dost protest too much. And so much in her protest, it makes me believe that there was more than what she leads to believe. Otherwise, it'd been, oh yeah, I dated this one guy. We went out a couple of times, didn't work out. He doesn't come to the studio anymore. However, here's a bigger, larger question, and I'm going to take us maybe off in a little bit of tangent, is where's the studio policy about dating students?
That was my follow-up question. It's like, how flexible should studios be on this policy? Like, where did
I absolutely feel that most studios should have a no dating policy, no dating students. Now, if you have a pre-existing relationship with someone, that's one thing. But I just feel like no dating, and actually not just no dating, and this is a tougher one, is just in general fraternization. It's that line between professional and personal. And it is in any field, right? There's that line between their clients and their friends, but really, it's like they're clients first, and then maybe they become friends, but there's that personal boundary there, that line there between personal professional. And so for me, if a client just invited me out, I always was like, oh, gee, I'm so sorry, Carol. That's so sweet. You and Bridget want to take me to coffee. Unfortunately, I have an appointment or something like that. Now, if it was like the whole team it was like a studio thing, that was one thing, because I've seen where it gets really cliquey at studios. So that, to me, this is like a policy of the studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bridget, what do you think?
Yeah, I do not. I've learned this the hard way. Definitely do not like it when, honestly, I don't even like it when my instructors, yeah, like Terry said, are coffee friends with clients at the studio. It was a little late for me or on a couple occasions when I like realized this, but now I'm really like clear with new employees coming on. But then on the other hand, it's a little awkward because I do still have an instructor or two who is like outside the studio friends with, other people. So it's a little weird that I have to kind of hold people to a different standard, but it really honestly lately has not been an issue. Yeah, I don't think you should date your
Students.
yeah, I don't think you should date the studio's clients. And as for this lady, the wine lady, if it weren't for the wine, I would be like, you know what, guys, maybe they just have a different definition of what's dating. But the fact that it only came out when she drank a bottle and a half of wine makes me think she was trying to hide it and then
Yeah.
she like stopped.
And the floodgates opened and
Yeah,
all of the
exactly. And
lies
then there's
came
just
out.
holding back. So
Yeah.
yeah, those are my thoughts, I would say.
Yeah.
Particularly over the course, you said they've been dating for like 9 months. I mean, I can understand you don't want to verbally vomit on somebody and give them every detail of your dating life when you're first, you might, like drib it out. But again, I just go back, the fact that he point out blank said, and she said no, that to me is just, it's a lie.
Yeah. And like, you can only take these at face value, like
Right.
you're just reading what this situation is. And like, there could be some context in there that we're not seeing that like how he asked her. Like if he's approaching her, it's like, did you ever date on yoga, like on other dating app, like because some guys are weird about that, right? And then you get defensive and you're like, no, I didn't. Like, so you don't have the full context, and like that's when those lies kind of like happen. I know that's not okay, and like you want to be honest about everything, but some people just like make you feel bad about it in a way. Like he may have been coming at it in a place like making her feel bad about it. But again, we don't know the full
Yeah, it
context.
does kind of sound like he's interrogating her about from which places
Yeah.
she found people to date. That does seem a little weird. Like, what's with all the drama?
Yeah.
Like, guys, deep breaths.
Relax.
It's
Yeah.
just,
Like
yeah.
you got the girl. Like just enjoy it.
Yeah, just,
Oh my goodness.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's check out some of the comments. The majority ruled not overreacting, which I think I agree with. Not overreacting. Trust is the foundation of any healthy relationship. White lies could lead to bigger ones. She's literally lying to your face every single time you ask about her past. I'd bet that she's dated numerous men from her yoga studio. If she won't be honest about this, then she will/is lying about other things. Plus, it's not even a big deal. She's lying about small stuff. She has a guard up that only comes down with wine. That
Exactly.
wine really isn't her friend. Yeah, her habit of white lies is concerning. Let her know that the yoga guy and dating apps development isn't a big deal, but her repeatedly lying about it is. If she will lie so quickly about something small, how can you trust her when it comes to something big? Very true. Women usually do this to hide their sexual past, bro. Wait and listen and act accordingly. This usually happens, though, to be dishonest with you. If you expect an inexperienced woman to substantiate your traditional expectations on dating and relationships, those times are generally past, especially if she's a yoga teacher. That's not very nice. They're known to be quite liberal when it comes to sexual relationships, stereotypically. I don't know about that.
That's quite an
They're
assumption.
known.
You must be a hoe.
Yes.
Oh my God. Everything about this comment was just, it's so
They're
hard to read. He's
known.
using like the
What?
letter U instead of YOU. And then it ends with that. Like this person, this
Yeah.
comment. Okay, what do you guys have to say about this comment?
Oh, well, yeah. I think Carol said it best.
How can you
And she
repeat?
even had the head shake going.
It's like, oh, you're a yoga teacher? You must be a hoe.
Hashtag ho yoga teacher.
I genuinely have never heard that stereotype, I don't think. Have you guys?
Actually, I've heard it the other way around.
I've heard that like, oh, you're a
Because
yoga teacher, you must be flexible. And then it's
flexible.
insinuated, right?
Right.
Um,
Or they
yeah.
wear tight pants. So maybe like that's where this guy is getting this impression that like they're asking for it, what they
Yeah,
take.
I usually, it's in my experience where it's been an issue, it's always been the other way around. Because let's face it, the ratio of male yoga instructors to female yoga instructors is like huge. Out of my large teacher training of 200 people, there were only 35 guys,
Mm-hmm.
and of which only less than 10 were straight. Not
Mm-hmm.
that, I mean, just say, it's just like,
Yeah.
so, yeah, in fact, this came up at a client last year. We were doing an on-site, and I will say, this guy, he is good looking. He's a good looking dude. And, he's a hot yoga teacher. So he embraces the Brazilian shorts, and he's
Oh
very,
my God, does he do like Magic Mike yoga classes?
yeah, he's just got the long hair with the man bun and the chiseled features. I mean, definitely a good looking male of figure of the male species, right?
Did
And
Wow.
you just say he's a hot
Can't
looking
wait
guy?
to meet
he's
him.
a hot dude, let me tell you. He got
A male species. This isn't a science
a
podcast
fine
here.
example of the male species. Let's just put it that way.
Phasing male specimen.
Yes. Anyway, he was on his fourth or fifth girlfriend at this studio.
That's
Oh.
what I was gonna say. It's the
And
male yoga teachers who are like,
typically that's where, I mean, obviously it can happen reverse, but I've seen it more frequently become more of a problem when it's the male instructor. And in every case, when they broke up, the client quit.
Yeah.
Oh,
So it's like,
not good for the
that's
studio.
where, and it's not just for the men, but for the women as well, because women certainly can sleep their way through a yoga studio as well. And it's just, I think that's where having is that you have to have a clear boundary. It's like there is no dating clients, period, end of story. And then to Bridget's point, that finer line. Yeah, no, it should just be, there's no dating student unless you are already in that relationship before you come to work for the studio, and
Mhm.
then your partner decides to practice. That different situation, but
Mhm.
otherwise it's done. Carol, yeah.
Well, I was going to add to that, or dating other teachers, because I worked with a client, a studio where it was like there was a male he had dated one of the other female teachers, and then they broke up, and then he started dating somebody else, or like it was drama, drama, drama.
Yeah.
And it made the working environment really awkward. And
Yeah, it
that's
would
another
definitely do
problem.
that.
So if you own a studio, you should think about that policy as well.
That's
Yeah.
that's a really good point, Carol, because a lot of times in bigger companies, they'll have a policy you can't date a coworker unless you like work in different departments or have a different supervisor. But obviously in a small business, that's not going to be possible. Yeah. So that's a real, it's like, yeah, unfortunately. And well, actually I had a studio that had that and it happened. And basically the owner was like, if one or the other of you is going to have to go.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
reasonable. That's fine. If
Yeah.
you really like each other, then fine, get a job somewhere else teaching
Yeah.
yoga. I
Yeah.
don't know, that just
Yeah.
doesn't seem like we would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of things you can unpack with that.
Yeah.
Particularly not just men, and it's, men and women, oftentimes they're coming to yoga. It can be from a very emotional, vulnerable point.
Yeah.
And they are very emotional, very vulnerable. And as a teacher, it's like, can be very susceptible. And so you really have to walk that fine line of, you know, again, personal, professional. I mean, I know if you guys experience that, I mean, yoga students, they will like, almost like, I really don't need to know that about you. It's almost become like your therapy session and revealing, and they're can be so vulnerable that people can take advantage of that. And that's not just men, it's men and women. I want to be really clear that we're equally as bad.
The lady specimen is equally as bad, Terri.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead,
Female,
Bridget.
yes.
I was just gonna say, I do like when I think about the romantic issues we've had in our studio, 100% of the perpetrators were men, like 100%. I think that yoga does, and of course, like we have incredible male clients at our studio. And sometimes yoga, because it's almost guaranteed to be a room full of women, attracts certain men who are interested in being in an environment like that for specific reasons. And one of the issues that I have really worked closely with a lot of my teachers on, especially the younger women, is they need to put up energetic boundaries because men, they can be a little stupid sometimes. Like they can be a little not smart about stuff. They can be bad at understanding, like, and that's not an excuse. And in a perfect world, men would be better and be able to read a room better. But that's not always the case. And so a lot of times I'll see like my younger female teachers, speaking to these men, and I'm like, that guy is into you. Like he's very into you, and he is like getting more and more into you every time you talk to him. And like, I don't know if I'd really be interested to hear everyone else's thoughts on this, but I don't know exactly what it is, but it's super common. I have a lot of young women teachers right now, and we do talk about that. Like, you've got to be able to put up a little bit of a wall. And yeah, that's all the eloquent things I have to say about that. It's a big thing for us.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, they're walking into a room. If that's what they're going to yoga for, and they're like walking into a room of like mostly majority women, and it's, I don't know, they're not thinking with their head necessarily.
Oh, no, in fact,
A lot of other distractions in that room, and that shouldn't be why you're going to yoga in the first place. But then again, it's like, well, maybe you're going there to clear your head and you're just now very distracted. But I don't know.
I just had a client yesterday on a call yesterday. I asked her, how was your weekend? She just went like this. What? She said, we had a guy come yesterday and during Savasana whipped out his penis.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
No.
They called the police. They, you know, they filed a report. They had to.
Yeah.
And we talked just about what, it was handled appropriately, obviously, but just what some of the follow-up could be. But like she said, yeah. He came, he took he signed up for 2 classes and he was like wandering around between, and one other woman said she was kind of getting this vibe, you know, and then during the second class, and yeah, he whipped it out. Yeah.
My female fury is like
I can
the
see it.
energy. Like I'm just like, dudes, do better. You know what I mean? Like you can go into a room of full women and still
Be a decent
keep
human
focused.
being.
Exactly. Be a good person. You can
And also, I'm sorry, that 20-year-old yoga teacher is not interested in your old married ass. I'm sorry.
Ew.
Like, she isn't. She's not interested. And so stop like convincing yourself that her like giggles back at what you say are like showing interest in you. We've really been off topic, but
I mean, know where it's gonna go.
That's so very interesting if you really want to go back in terms of anthropology and biology, is a lot of times we're not even aware that we're flirting. We're not even aware that we're giving off.
fawning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like how to really put up that barrier, because we are predisposed to act certain ways around the male of the species. And then it's just really fascinating. And to what you just said, Bridget, what's interesting about is you never see a good looking, very beautiful young woman with a 40 or 50-year-old guy who's not rich, right? So it's like you don't see, they could be really, maybe it's like the power, it's attracted to the power there, we're attracted to that they can take care of us. I may get ripped on this in comments, however, it's like we are the female species, we produce children, we are designed to protect our children, and protecting our children means food and shelter. And if someone can provide food and shelter for us, and we perceive that, that's where sometimes that dynamic will happen. I studied a lot of sociology and psychology in college. Actually, I was a liberal arts major, so I know a little bit about a lot of stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah, me too.
You know, this whole conversation is just making me think White Lotus. Everything about it is White Lotus. Who's watching? Is anybody watching?
only on episode 3. Don't give
Okay.
anything.
I'm not going to give anything away, but this whole season, there's a lot of really young women with really old men,
Have
like
lots of fun.
very old. And because it's in Thailand, so like these old men are like hiding from something. And then there's a dick flash in the most recent episode, and it's just like, ooh. So like everything we're saying, I'm just like, oh my God, this is an episode of White Lotus. I just watched
There's
this.
like energy going on there too.
Yeah.
There is
it's
energy
a lot of,
healing,
like,
yes. They have
hands on
yoga
here.
classes, like
It is related.
everything about this is screaming White Lotus.
I have a way to bring our current conversation back to the original
The
thing.
actual topic.
Okay, I want to hear this, Bridget.
I was thinking about, okay, something Terri said about how women, you know, sometimes don't even know that what they're saying might be coming off as flirting. I lead my yoga teacher training, and this weekend we're talking about the nervous system. And one of the states, a nervous system, a survival state is fawning. And it's basically when you try and appease the person that's a threat to you by being like extra nice and extra like and flirty and friendly and like everything. Oh yeah, ha ha ha, that's so funny. And I know that that is what's happening. We had a guy one time recently who was like coming around at the really early morning classes to one of my really young teachers. And I'm sure she was like, ha 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 ha. because she's fucking freaked out. And he's
Yeah.
like, you know, with our letter writer, our OP, who's saying like, oh, my girlfriend's not telling me the truth. And like we were saying, like, it sounds like you're coming at her with like a lot of aggressive fucking questions about like
Yeah.
her dating history. And maybe she's a little bit like, yeah, oh my gosh, yeah, no, nothing to be afraid of here.
Yeah.
So just one
Yeah.
vote for the lying girlfriend.
Yeah.
I would
mean,
say that maybe this whole relationship has a little bit dysfunctional on both sides.
I
Right.
think they just need to break up, to be
Yeah, I was gonna say, maybe they
honest.
need to
Like
break
that would
up,
be
yeah.
the ideal situation. And yeah, I agree with what Bridget was saying. Like there's a lot of negative, like I've experienced it personally, like that it's almost like women to some men, like some men have evolved and like have expanded beyond this, but like a lot of men make you feel bad for having a history. And that's not cool. And so like maybe that was the vibe she was feeling, and she just like he just wanted to be the only one who and like they want to feel special, right? Like, oh, or like, am I the only one you've ever dated from yoga? You know, like wanting to feel special about it. But again, we can never know the actual context of this. But yeah.
It's been interesting if the girlfriend had said, seriously, dude, look at, you think you're the first? And see what he said to that. So, and I hear what you're saying, Bridget, about that, the fawning. I haven't heard that expression before, but it makes total sense. It's like, you're right, that's one protective measure, is to flatter, to fawn, to extract yourself from, and to help diffuse the situation. Because sometimes if you're facing aggression with aggression, particularly female against male, as opposed to just backing it down and diffusing till you could get away. It's the fight or flight. That's a form of fighting in a way. It's just trying to diffuse the situation.
Yeah. Have you
Right?
guys seen the dating game movie? The new one with Anna Kendrick?
Mhm.
Yeah, this happens in there. Like one of the it's about this guy who's a serial killer. Like it's a very real story. And she like just plays nice. And like he literally like attempted to kill her. And she just like, oh, you didn't mean to do it. And like played along with it to the point that he kind of like trusted her. And then they stopped to get gas and he left the car and she ran away and called the cops. But like, it's such a scary, real thing. And this is taking a very dark turn. But I do want to bring it around and ask the question, just flip the script for a second. So, have you guys ever experienced a positive relationship in the yoga studio where they end up getting married and live happily ever after? Like, does that ever happen?
You mean students meeting or teacher student or?
I mean, for the sake of the story, teachers meeting students, but it could be teachers or students and students. But any little love stories to finish off this episode? And on a happier note than a serial killer,
This is going way back. There was a couple, they both found yoga in their 40s, post-divorce, all that kind of stuff. They met and ended up getting married, and then they ended up both going to teacher training, and then ended up opening their own studio together.
That's cute.
Yeah.
Very fun. Carol, you have any
Unfortunately,
love stories?
no long-term
No?
love stories. They tend to fizzle out or, not be anything long-term. So let that be a lesson to you.
Yeah.
Fair. There's also something about like dating somebody where you work. Like not necessarily if it's a teacher and a student, yeah, but like then it just like creates so much negative tension if things are going bad, right? And like when you go into a yoga studio, the last thing you want is bad energy. And especially as a teacher, like you got to leave your shit at the door and when you go into that room to teach.
Well, this happened at the studio I bought. It was before I bought it. Is that there was a couple that they started practicing together, and then the girlfriend went to teacher training and became a teacher. But they were living together when she went away, and da da da. So already, and then once she'd been teaching, I don't know, however long, not too long, they broke up, and it was a very bad breakup. He was not my favorite person. However, I do understand that it does take two in a relationship. And so she proceeded to talk about, she wanted the owner to ban him from the studios just because they broke up.
No, the studio's mine.
Yeah, and then the owner at the time was like, no, and she got super upset about that, and then was talking about it in the change room and this and that and blah blah blah, sharing her side of the story, and basically made it so uncomfortable for him. And then the women, the girls, like, were very protective of her, and you know, it just ended up being really bad.
It's just too much drama.
It was just so much drama.
A lot.
And, whether or not he was abusive, that was the allegation. I mean, it's like, I don't know. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. I don't know that. But it's like, you can't just, that's another thing as an owner, is someone says something about someone and says, but how do you substantiate it? Did you ever have that happen, you guys, at your studios, where someone was like, this person is this way and they shouldn't be here?
No, I think hot yoga attracts more men than regular old non-heated vinyasa yoga. We have, like I said, we've had people who I did have to ask to leave, but only because they were actually it was about me. I would kick anyone out who'd done anything to anyone else, but I had a couple of male clients I had to ask to not come back. But no, that's too much drama for me. I can't handle that.
Yeah.
Did you ever have to issue a restraining order against any of your clients?
No, it never got that far. One guy almost, but he was just having a full psychotic break. But the other two just got a couple angry Instagram messages. One guy got my phone number somehow, and I have no idea how. That was a bummer. But it's just odd. I will confess to having dated a guy one time who came to one of my yoga classes, and he was also a yoga teacher. He was just so hot.
Did you meet him at the studio you guys were both going to or teaching at?
I met him at my own studio, which I'm not proud of. I don't recommend it, but he wasn't a member. He just
Yeah.
came to one, and he at the end said that he was a yoga teacher and whatever, and he did not ask me out. I asked him out because
Does your husband know this, Bridget?
Yes, exactly. And yes, I love to tell Greg about the hot guys I've dated.
And it doesn't take wine to spill.
No, it's stone cold sober. I tell him all about it.
Girl, you said you were like this.
A restraining order. Yeah. Yeah. It started with the really awkward conversations at the front desk, and we thought he was just a little bit off, but we were doing that thing like, oh, ha ha ha, whatever, and I mean, there were messages sent, and I was very clear, like, I am married, this is inappropriate. He was messaging me through Facebook and things like that. And fast forward, one day I was home alone with my son, and I think my son was maybe 4 at the time, and they were doing work on the street. So somebody knocked on the door, and I just thought it was like a worker telling us that our water was going to be shut off or whatever. I'm cleaning house. I opened the door, and he was standing there.
Oh.
And I don't know how he got figured out where I lived. And he's like, I'm like, oh, like, I
Totally
froze.
caught off guard.
Yes. And he's like, I thought we could go away together. And I was just like, my kid is here. Like, I was just like, no, that's not going to happen. Like, somehow I just gently shut the door and locked it. And I'm shaking right now, sort of thinking about it. It was terrifying, actually. And I know it was just such a minor thing compared to what other people have gone through. But yeah, I went that night to get an order of protection and all that stuff. And yeah, so it was scary.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
Carol, that's not minor. That was a huge deal. And I mean, the fact that you can see how upset you are, I'm just saying straight up, that is not minor. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. Yeah, that's the thing and unfortunately that is the underbelly or the downside of what we do in this. We're in front, and particularly in hot yoga, we're in front of a lot of people, and oftentimes not necessarily even scantily clad, but not dressed. It's unfortunate, the downside to what we do.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No, it's all good. It was years and years ago, but it's scary,
Yeah.
So he showed up at the studio after that, several years later, in fact, with a shovel. It was very strange. I don't even know to go into that. But anyway, it was finally he was gone after that. Anyway, yeah, but
Holy
that's my
moly.
story.
Oh,
Right.
whoa.
Yeah, he
Wow.
was, yeah.
Wow. No, so yes, make yourself safe. Yeah, it's actually a good reason why you like, particularly, I mean, it's an interesting, I've had conversations with clients about this, particularly like the evening classes or the early morning classes, particularly the early morning classes in the wintertime where it's pitch dark at 6 o'clock in the morning. And I had a client whose teacher was mugged
Oh,
going
that's
into the
scary.
studio one morning at 6 o'clock in the morning. And then it's just like, so these are all things that you do have to think about as an owner in terms of your team's safety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all those things that you don't, obviously,
One of-
you never want to happen, but like having kind of like a preparation plan or like in case of the whatever, like bad things happening, like you kind of have an idea of what the protocol is, or
Mhm.
like even just like who to call, what to do. Because like, I don't know, a lot of times when people get in those situations, they freeze
Yeah.
and they can't think straight. And like, I remember when I got in my first, this completely irrelevant to this situation, but like I got in my first car accident with my friend was driving, and I was just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what do I do? What do I do? Like you're so panicky in that mindset, and you just like do not know what to do. And Josh was talking last episode about how at our studio it would get so cold at nights. Like we're in central
Yeah.
Alberta in Canada, and like there's a couple of times where there would been like there's a lot of homeless people around where the studio was, and they would just like there sometimes they would just like be in the parking lot, right? And like it was a secluded parking lot, like it was fenced. There's a big forest behind us, and there's a hole in the fence where they would come through, and so like it definitely like I can relate to that part of it where it was scary to come in the morning at like 6 a.m. Not that I went to those classes very often, but
I have a
yeah,
client, I don't know if it's still the
not a morning
case.
person.
Yeah, I have a client that I don't know if it's still the case, but at one point they had a client who was a police officer and he did a work trait for them. And what he did is he would show up every night and escort the teacher to their car after the close of the
Oh,
studio. That was his job. And
that's nice.
they traded yoga off for that. The other thing I was made me think of too is like in my studio, typically we could park, like I would say, park behind the studio to have the parking out front available. I said, however, like in wintertime, they could park right in the front, right in front of the studio. And then also conversely, in the wintertime, in the evening, teacher could park right in front of the studio.
Yeah,
So, because it was in a strip mall. So,
yeah,
I did have
nice.
that. Otherwise, it's like you don't park right in front of the studio. But
Yeah,
those are, so those are also, again, those are things you need to think about when
yeah,
you own a
totally.
business. It's the safety of your staff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a
Whew.
good place to wrap. All right, friends. Well, that's a wrap on this episode of Spill the Booch. Definitely took a turn, but that's okay. Thanks for hanging out with us, sharing some laughs, because let's face it, yoga might be zen, but life isn't always. Don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share your own wild stories with us. You might just hear them on the show. Until next time, cheers.
Bye.